Welcome to the second breakout session. Tyler and I are warmed up from doing this the first time. Someone decided to come to this 2 times in a row, so you know it's good. We are talking today about video myths, and Tyler and I are going to be your myth busters. My name is Katie. I'm the Director of Product Management here at Collective Measures. I work really closely with our awesome data engineers and data scientists to support Practice, which is the tech stack that helps power a lot of the great work that we do here at Collective Measures. I have about 10 years of experience in marketing measurement, and I'm joined today by my friend Tyler.
Thanks, Katie. How amazing is this, you guys? We had so much fun the first time. So here we are again, back for round 2. This is my first Discover. I'm truly blown away. Really excited to be here. As Katie mentioned, I'm Tyler Leducer. I'm the media director here at Collective. I have nearly 20 years of experience in media. Just really excited. Thank you all for joining us. So jumping in, as Katie mentioned, this is the as seen on TV version of the breakout rooms, right? So we are playing the role of Mythbusters today as we bust up some common myths around video advertising and talk about how video can be a really powerful growth channel. And as Mythbusters, there are 2 common myths that we're going to focus on today. The first is around video's use case and video being only for awareness. You know it's a myth when I do this. The second is around measurement, and the myth being video impact can't be measured. Then we're going to wrap it all up with some steps on how to get started on using this powerful medium. So jumping into the first myth. The myth, video is only for awareness. And it's a common discussion point across brands, and it doesn't matter if the brand is spending $250,000 or $70 million a year, video often gets bucketed as upper funnel in support of awareness or brand, right? And it's an interesting dynamic because video does an awesome job at all of those things. It can help a brand stand out. It can tell a story unlike any other channel can do. But it can do so much more than that. The fact is, video can actually help you grow your business, extending well beyond awareness. So why does this myth exist? The myth exists largely due to 2 factors. The first is the acceleration of digital media. Digital media has allowed users to click on ads. With those clicks came the ability to measure what immediately happened next. With that measurability, advertisers wanted to understand in real time and optimize campaigns to the strongest performing tactics. And because video doesn't always come with a click, it hasn't looked as favorable in those models. The second is the standard media funnel construct, right? We talked about this during the keynote today, where video gets bucketed as upper funnel in support of awareness. And we're all guilty of this, right? We look at the funnel, we consider our goals, and then we choose channels based on how they might support those goals. But the reality is, like our keynote speaker said, there's a lot more versatility there than what typically would be represented, including within video. So this is my big stat slide, and it really just drives home the point of how impactful video can be. Video builds trust and loyalty, and with that trust and loyalty comes results. Did you know high awareness brands drive 3 times more conversions than low awareness brands? And why? Well, put the me in media for a second and consider your own purchase journey. Like that. How much more likely are you to purchase from a brand you know very well and have strong feelings towards versus a brand you've never heard of? That's the difference, right? And all of these big stats from increasing marketing ROI from 10 to 20%, or improving conversion rates from 20 to 80%, or a 95% message retention rate, which is absolutely wild, you guys, because that compares to just 10% with text ads, or increasing web traffic by 10 to 50%. All of this is attributed to video advertising. Who wouldn't want to see that type of improvement and those results for video? So let's talk about the reasons why and how we get there. So the reality is today's consumers are seamlessly and simultaneously moving across 4 key behaviors of streaming, scrolling, searching, shopping. They're doing this in new ways with different points of interaction. The lines are often blurred. And all of this has been accelerated due to the advancements in AI and the media and fragmentation within media. But what's great about video is that while consumers' attention has been in high demand and often divided, 52% of time spent with media is with video. That's over 4 hours a day. That's awesome. CTV alone is at 20%. So as you're thinking about planning for next year, showing up where your customers are at, there's a good chance they're not just here, but they're here at a high rate, right? And video's evolved quite a bit over time. And don't get me wrong, So we think about linear, we can joke around about it all we want, but it still has a very strong use case within the video ecosystem. But video is extended into other areas within CTV, online video, and social. It's even extended into parts of out-of-home, audio, and search. It is an extremely versatile channel that is literally everywhere. And with that versatility and those high engagement numbers that I mentioned earlier, comes a unique ability to reach a broad audience. Video does this like no other channel, right? And you need reach to grow your business. You want to get new customers, you need to reach more prospects. You want more revenue, you need to reach more users. And the broader the reach, the broader the opportunity for outcomes. There are ways in video to get hyper-targeted. Certainly, use cases for that, right? But consider using this channel for what it does best, driving reach. But, reach is only one part of the equation. You also need attention. Attention plus reach, that will drive influence. And you probably heard our friends, a couple of them right here, from the Trade Desk to Meta to Google, all talk about creative being the new targeting. And that's so true, right? Creative can create a connection by tapping into the passion points and emotions of your audience. And I love this example from Michelob Ultra because they did a really good job of harnessing the power of reach and combining that with attention to drive influence. They had reach. They were in the Super Bowl. They were literally everywhere for a while there. And they had different variations for the different environments in which they ran. They also were able to capture attention by using likable, well-known characters. They also had fun vibes. Heck, they had pickleball and beer. They had all the things. All of this drove performance and drove to influence. It helped propel Michelob Ultra into the #2 top beer sales company. So it worked, right? That's what brings us back to this big stat slide I shared earlier, right? And you'll notice not one of these is talking about awareness. It's all about business outcomes. And so much of this is an opportunity. So much of this is incremental to your business. So, I don't know. Can we say it?
I think we can say it.
Busted! Guys, we practiced that for weeks. You heard that joke already. So, all of the things, right? Reach, attention, influence, putting the customer at the center of it. That's what's going to drive performance. Video has that ability to extend well beyond awareness and drive growth. And I think one of the key enablers on all of this is measurement. And I think, Katie, actually a nice little segue into our next topic.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Tyler. All right, on to our second myth, which is that video impact can't be measured. We hear this a lot from folks who believe in the power that video can drive for their organization, but are struggling to prove it, whether that's with their leadership or their finance partners. But the myth that video is too difficult to be measured isn't just outdated. It could be holding you back from investing in one of the most powerful and engaging mediums that are available to your brand. So let's dig into why this myth exists and why it's no longer accurate. Similar to what Tyler talked about, video tends to be undervalued in these traditional last-click attribution methodologies. So even if video did play a key role earlier on in the customer's journey, potentially even introducing this customer to your brand, it's not going to show up this way with that type of credit in these models. Second, even though we know this is changing rapidly, video is still largely only a view-only medium. And because of that, it can be really difficult to tie directly to those sales outcomes. And because of this, we're back to myth number one. Many organizations sort of relegate video to just a branding tool, believing that it can't or shouldn't be measured, and so they sort of give up altogether. But the fact is that video can be measured if you have the right tools and you're using them at the right moments. So let's take a look at your video measurement toolkit. I have these in order from something that you're going to be doing more frequently, something that's more tactical, to something that you're going to be doing less frequently but is more strategic and is more for that big picture decision making. So let's start with platform analytics. This is going to be the most granular tool in your toolkit. This is more of your always-on monitoring that you're looking at weekly or even daily to help optimize on the fly based on what you're seeing coming out of these platforms. In this particular view, we're looking at the Practice Creative Dashboard, which brings together data across different platforms to be able to have that cross-channel view of how things are performing. And we used this for our client room and board to be able to look at creative content, so what was being highlighted in that creative, as well as creative length. So we were able to understand what was resonating and performing best with our target audience and adjust our spend accordingly. So platform analytics is great for those nitty-gritty pulling of levers to drive that short-term performance game that's really critical. But we all know that platform analytics does have its drawbacks, right? It's going to be, the platforms themselves are kind of existing in their silos. And so it can be hard to get like that complete and holistic picture of what's happening, which is why incrementality is so important, which we will talk about with incrementality testing. So incrementality testing is a great tool to use whenever you're trying something new. So let's say you're expanding into a new platform or trying a new creative or audience strategy. The purpose of incrementality testing is really to demonstrate causality. In other words, did this video touchpoint actually cause someone to make this purchase when they wouldn't otherwise have? And that's really important because even if the outcome of your video isn't a click today, that doesn't mean that it didn't have an impact on driving actual business outcomes, and that's something that you can prove through this type of testing. In one example, we had a client who was relatively new to the video space, and so we helped them step into this by conducting a 3-month pilot test. 7 markets had OTT turned on, 7 did not. And what we saw at the end of this 3-month pilot was that the 7 markets that had OTT turned on saw a 93% increase in branded search terms, and those consumers were 66% more likely to convert compared to their non-OTT counterparts. This was a really crucial proof point when we took this information back to their finance team to help justify scaling spend in this tactic. So again, if incrementality testing isn't a tool in your activation roadmaps today, I would highly recommend incorporating this into your approach. And then last but certainly not least, media mix modeling, which is very near and dear to my heart. The media mix modeling is having a bit of a glow up moment because not only is it privacy safe and it's always been like a more holistic way to approach measurement, but thanks to advances in technology, media mix modeling can be conducted more rapidly than ever before. The purpose of media mix modeling is to be able to determine, based on data science, machine learning methodologies, what is the impact of one variable, in this case, some type of video media, on some type of business outcome. And this can be anything from revenue to new customers to leads. It's really flexible to meet what's going to be most actionable for your business. So for example, if you organize your budgets by platform and you're making decisions that way, you could look at performance of YouTube versus Netflix. But if you are more budgeting based on the type of buy, you can also see performance by programmatic versus direct buys. What you're seeing on the slide here is our brand new Practice Media Mix Modeling platform. So the folks in this room and online today are some of the first people outside of Collective Measures to actually see this, and we are super excited about it. I haven't been this excited, honestly, about a new tech capability in a really long time because it is so powerful. What you're seeing with this demo environment here is an example of a client who, let's say we're seeing their media mix modeling results are showing that native is outperforming their YouTube investment. With this tool, we're able to rapidly simulate the impact of what it would look like if we took dollars outside of that YouTube investment and reinvested that into native video. With that, we're able to help predict what the outcome could be from a business standpoint and really help drive the client's objectives, whether that's to increase incremental revenue or increase new customers. So again, it's just really powerful for that sort of what-if scenario planning and budgeting that we're doing all the time as marketers. The other compelling thing that I want to highlight about media mix modeling is that it does help with that pesky brand measurement problem. Let's say you're investing in brand measurement and you're just struggling to get the proof point that it's actually driving business outcomes. With media mix modeling, you get this metric called base, which is an understanding of what your sales would be regardless of your marketing efforts or any sort of external factors. These were sales that were going to happen regardless. If you're investing in brand, you would expect over time to see your base sales go up because that's an indicator of your brand health. So with media mix modeling, you have this way of sort of monitoring that metric over time and understanding how your awareness and brand investments are helping grow the health of your business overall. What I like to say is that the key with any type of measurement is to not treat just one of these as like your source of truth or this is the silver bullet that we've been looking for. The key is using these all together and understanding what questions each one of these measurement tools is geared to answer. And by doing that, you're going to have the most comprehensive view of video's value and the impact that it's having on your organization. So hopefully with this toolkit, you're feeling like video is less of a black box. And I think we can say that this myth has been
busted.
Ooh,
Oh, I love how you joined us. Thank you.
audience
Yes.
participation.
You guys can all join next time.
Yes, I love that. But before we wrap up today, we know that getting started with video can be daunting, so Tyler and I just want to walk through some steps that can help you, rethink on how you might improve your existing strategy, or if this is a relatively new tactic to you, to get started today.
So we're at that stage. There's no longer myths, just opportunity, just momentum, right? And I love this. I've seen the impact that video can have on a brand's performance. And really, as we talk about the steps, there's 5 steps that, we've identified to help you get started. And we're going to double click into each of those. Starting with our first step, clarifying objectives. Like anything else, right? Like we just want to understand, what does success look like? What are we trying to accomplish? It's like anything else that we're trying to do. Video is included in that, right? So, and maybe success is ultimately just trying to understand or validate what type of performance video can have on your brand. That's totally fine. But understanding what success looks like and using that as our North Star to rally around it is a critical first step in this process. The next step is thinking about customer. And it's not just where they're showing up, but it's also what really resonates with them, what matters to them, right? We go back to that Michelob Ultra example. Michelob Ultra was able to do a really great job in tapping into the passion points and emotions of their audience, right? So how do we do that? We use tools like MRI to better understand our customer and identify like common through lines of what really matters to them. And then we can use that to our advantage in our creative to help really kind of guide that customer in the path to purchase. And if production is a barrier, there are certainly workarounds, right? It doesn't need to be a 6-figure production budget. Customers value authenticity. You can use that to your advantage. You can use creators, you can use animation, you can use our production partners. There's so many different ways that you can really tap into it, but it's key that you really kind of lean in on your customer first and really focus on the environment that you're going to be designing for.
All right, let's say you've gone through the process of clarifying your objectives, you know what that North Star is, and you've figured out how that message is going to come to life through your creative. The other thing that we would really recommend that you do is start with measurement in mind. Too often we see campaigns that go live and measurement is sort of treated as an afterthought, and brands are struggling to gather the right data to be able to determine, did this actually have the impact that we thought it was going to have? And everybody's kind of just left standing around shrugging their shoulders like, I don't know. But the truth is that if you start with measurement in mind, you can think about how you're able to capture those objectives. So for example, if your overall goal is to drive sales, can you add a QR code or a unique promo code to that video to help more directly tie that video view to those eventual sales outcomes? Or can you just take a step back and rethink your campaign naming structure altogether to think about how can we achieve a more cross-channel view of our video measurement? So the more intention that you put into thinking about measurement up front, the better off you'll be down the line. And so we recommend doing that while also building your budget with flexibility. We talked about incrementality testing today, and this is something that where possible, we'd recommend reserving a portion of your budget to just test and learn. The great thing about incrementality testing is that it allows you to understand what works and cut what doesn't. So you can be sure to help transform video into the true full funnel performance driver that we know it can be. And then last is analyze and refine. And this is certainly last, but definitely not least. Whether it's using proxy metrics from your platform or your monthly or quarterly MMM readout, be sure that you're thinking about how you're going to change your spend, your tactics based on what you're seeing. What I would hate to see is for you to spend all of this time going through these first 4 steps and then not take any meaningful action on it. I like to say that any technology or data is only as good as your ability to harness it. So be sure to harness the power of those insights and take action that's going to help grow the business. We are at the end of this presentation, but it is not the end of the road for you. You are going to go forth from here knowing that video is not just for branding. It is a powerful tool for performance as well. You have your toolkit for how to measure it. And you know that now that video is everywhere and it can truly be that highly effective and trusted medium for driving that influence that we talked about is so important this morning. And what Tyler and I hope you take away from today is that video is not just a nice to have. It's not just for those organizations that have Super Bowl sized budgets. It truly is for all brands, and the opportunity is out there. Hopefully you feel like you've got some tools to help you succeed, so let's go make it happen. Thanks, everybody.
So the time's all messed up now, but we do have time for Q&A. So if there's like any questions, we could probably take a couple. And then just maybe like a quick housekeeping thing too. So for the folks who are here live, after Q&A, we go out there, we do lunch. For anyone that's joining us virtually, then you can just hang up. We're done with the day, and you can go grab lunch or join the next meeting that you have on your schedule. So wanted to also call that out. So any questions? Tata's gonna pass around the mic.
When it comes to long form video, what sort of data can you kind of pull from that? I'm sure we're all familiar with like YouTube and stuff, but as long form video becomes more common on other social media like, TikTok and Reddit, what are other forms of data collection that we can use to, target certain audiences or build lookalike audiences, for example?
Great question. I think honestly with long form video, like the data collection is going to look the same as for your short form video as well. And so I think, if you hearken back to the measurement toolkit, you're going to be wanting to look at your platform analytics. But then if you're able to, for example, categorize your long form video campaigns in a specific way so that you can kind of level those up, one great option would be to incorporate that into your media mix model, which can help say, like, this is the incremental impact of our long form videos across these different platforms. So that's one thing that I think is really interesting and very powerful about media mix modeling is that depending on what you're trying to understand, it can really help you help gain those insights that you wouldn't otherwise get from just the platform alone. Other questions?
Any others? Oh, right back there.
For a smaller company with a limited budget, what are the most critical, non-negotiable metrics they should be focusing on for their video ad campaigns to prove ROI, and what tools would you recommend they use?
Oh gosh, there were a couple questions in there. So I think in terms of KPIs, we might go with, ultimately what are they trying to accomplish, right? Like, and we look at kind of some of the broader business outcomes. Is it customer? Is it sales? Is it order? Even if it's smaller and the investment is smaller, we can still focus on those metrics. And then I think like in terms of just measurement, because I believe that was one of the questions, I would go back to what Katie had mentioned earlier about incrementality testing. That's probably a good place to really focus on. And it doesn't matter if you're a smaller brand or a larger brand, you can still use that to test, validate, and support even some of those like specific KPIs. Is that?
Yes, I was going to say incrementality testing too. I think that's other questions? Myth busted.
Busted. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Lunchtime.